Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me on this Wednesday, April 13th, here in the Locker Room. I'm Alan Locher. Actor Dan Payne is here to tell us about his new feature film, Corrective Measures, and what it was like working opposite Bruce Willis and Michael Rooker on this action science fiction thriller, written, produced, and directed by Sean O'Reilly. Corrective Measures premieres, I believe, April 29th on Fox's Tubi. Dan has amassed an incredible list of credits on the big and small screen, including Supernatural, Tower Prep, Fairly Legal, Battlestar Galactica, Dead Like Me, Whistler, Stargate SG1, Stargate Atlantis, Smallville, The Chris Isaac Show, two Muppet movies, A Very Muppet Christmas and The Muppet Wizard of Oz, Cabin in the Woods, Underworld Awakening, No Clue, John Tucker Must Die, Watchmen, World of Warcraft, as well as the critically acclaimed indie film Mulligans. Dan is also part of the wildly successful Disney's Descendants franchise and has been part of the Mighty Ducks franchise. Please welcome to the Locker Room, Dan Payne. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Alan. Thank you very much for that intro.
You are so welcome. Thanks for being here.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Tell us about your new movie, Corrective Measures, and the villainous role you play.
Yeah, I finally got to step a little bit away from the usual nice guy role. So Corrective Measures was an unbelievably fun project for me because Sean Patrick O'Reilly, who gave me the opportunity, is an extremely generous, kind, intelligent, and collaborative guy. And then with that energy from the top down, that comfort zone was nice for me to, I guess, dive into my bad guy side. So I got to play Walter Arthur Locke, who also known as Payback, who turns out to be a vigilante in the movie because he's a former military man, and through some sort of event, which I won't spoil, gets a bit bent on justice and can't get it the usual routes, so he ends up in this maximum security penitentiary and wreaks havoc. And there are special powers. There's a pulse that went out over the world and everybody got special powers, so this pulse killed people, gave you special powers, or mutated, radiated. You don't know what the mixed bag was going to be for anyone, but I ended up getting powers being a military guy. I went for good, but it didn't work out so well because the criminals, well, they want to do bad. Anyway, you put a bunch of superpower guys in one space, it's going to get messy. It's going
to get messy. Had you known Sean's work before?
I did. I was very fortunate to do a voiceover for him. They run Arcana Studios and they do incredible animation movies. And they've stepped into live action, obviously. But they had a deal with Stan Lee before he passed. And they have created some incredible work from that studio in terms of animation. So it's just great to be able to work with them prior to that as just a voice before they got the whole meat sack.
and April 29th, right?
Yeah, April 29th, Fox Tubi. Yeah.
April 29th. What was it like working with Bruce Willis and Michael Rooker?
Mind-blowing. That's the first word I can think of. When Sean told me that the part was mine and I knew that it was Bruce Willis, I've said this a whole bunch of times, but I do a happy dance when something good happens. I do it in private because it's ridiculous, but I was so happy. I grew up with Bruce Willis being the epitome of cool. And I grew up with him being the kind of charming, smart-ass, awesome leading man that I wanted to be like. Like, he had swagger, and he still does. And he is as cool as you'd hope for him to be. Just knowing that I was going to meet him, let alone share screen with him, was a bucket list check. And then nothing, I was not let down in any way. He was incredibly gracious. His presence precedes him no matter what. I felt like I knew he was coming to set before he actually arrived.
Oh.
No kidding. Like, he looks $1 million, and his presence is unmistakable. And that goes for Michael Rooker too. Michael Rooker is a character, man. Like, nobody tells stories like that guy. He's I like to deem it the sweetest kind of crazy you could ever imagine.
And sadly, with Bruce in the news lately, which was really heartbreaking, did you notice any of that? Or
Well, for me, I was just, I'm pretty swept up in the honor of being in a Bruce Willis movie. And the fact that I got to meet and work with him, I don't know if I was just starstruck or not. I was just like, that's Bruce Willis. And
yeah,
I just enjoyed the experience. I literally was, it's hard for me to be a badass with a big dumb grin on my face, having, been around.
Like, I get it. Yeah.
That's freaking Bruce Willis.
Absolutely. John what? John Die Hard. What's his name? John. Oh, what's the character? John.
Yippee-ki-yay. John McLeod.
Yeah. Is it McLeod?
Oh, John.
Yeah, I'm totally blanking.
What? Oh my God. There's something glitch. There's a glitch in the Matrix, Alan. There's a glitch in the Matrix.
Totally. What
McClane,
are your
John McClane.
McClane? Yes, McClane. What are your favorite types of movies to see? Not be in.
Oh yeah, for sure. Any movie. No, not any movie. But I love ones that'll leave me. Mixed bag for me, to be honest, Alan. I love the ones where I don't have to think. Like this movie, I'm going to enjoy this one. Hopefully I don't, make a mess of it, but I love this kind of movie where you just get to enjoy the ride. You get to sit back, eat your popcorn, and enjoy the ride. It's a popcorn, energy filled, go for a ride. I love those. And then I love the thought-provoking ones where they, you're always guessing and you're wondering. And then I love the other ones where I need a box of tissues at the end and I'm a blobbering mess. So my wife and I don't mind admitting that Notebook was one of our favorite movies of all time. That's if I'm a giant sap, I'm a giant sap. But yeah,
I'm with you on the sap.
All right,
sap,
awesome.
The more sap, the better. Take us back to Victoria, British Columbia. What was your childhood like?
We didn't spend too long there. I was born there, and then we moved, I think, a year after, so I wasn't too aware of much going on. But it was fairly nomadic growing up. My dad was and is a workaholic. He still won't retire. So I think I got my work ethic from him, which I'm grateful for, and the stubborn willpower to keep fighting. But yeah, because he worked so hard, he would get promoted. And every time he got promoted, I meant in the coal industry, I meant a new town with a different coal mine that needed the next level up in the tier of hirings that he was going through. So he just kept climbing the ladder and we kept following suit. And I think it was great. It helped me, I think, recognize that I had to be resourceful. And it made my brother and sister my best friends. So, yeah, so we got to see a lot of different worlds and kind of inject ourselves into different situations and figure out who we were from that.
That's cool.
I did fall on my face a lot, Alan. Full flat.
It wouldn't be childhood if you don't.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's how we learn. I mean, I think we still, even at this age, fall on our face, and you still learn. You pick yourself back up and keep going.
That's my brother and I's motto: get up one more time, then you get knocked down, for sure.
Absolutely. And from what I understand, you were a natural born athlete. What was your sport of choice?
Well, again, growing up small town, a lot of these mines were in small towns. So I played every sport I could. That was my cathartic outlet, my teen angst outlet. And volleyball really spoke to me. I enjoyed that sport more than any. I played basketball as well. I think I was recruited to a couple universities for basketball, but more universities for volleyball. And I pursued that. I got to go to the University of Calgary and play volleyball, and I ended up in Europe playing, and I just I loved the team concept. I loved all the life lessons I was getting out of it. I loved the camaraderie. I loved all of it. And so when I retired from volleyball, for some reason, I thought it'd be cool to try out rugby in Australia. So I went from a finesse technical sport to a full madhouse of violence in a very kind of cool way.
Yeah. Two opposite spectrums of sport.
Yeah, exactly. Two totally different doses of Advil. Yeah.
Your volleyball career, why did that end? And did I read that it ended in Holland?
It did, yeah. It ended because I couldn't keep up anymore. I kind of reached a level of satisfaction that tied together with my ability to perform. There's some guys who could show up and they're just innately that gifted that they didn't have to be the first in the gym and the last out and do the extra reps and all that stuff. I was that extra reps guy. I was there early and I left late. And proud of it. And it felt very earned, but the cost it took its toll very quickly. So by the end of it, I joked about the Advil, but I couldn't get through practices without dosing myself with Advil prior to. And that just didn't make sense anymore. I was rotting my insides out with medicine to try and do something on the outside that I kind of was coming to grips with a level of satisfaction of achievement. So combination of those two.
Well, Holland isn't a bad place to end,
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm average height there, including the women. So
yeah, I wish I was your height, and I am a Dutch American. My parents were born there. So sadly I didn't get the height gene.
It was incredible for me though. Like the first night I went out with the team, we went to a club in Rotterdam, and I was eye to eye with everybody, and I used to feel tall. Like height is never a thing for me until I have to look up, because then I'm like, what is that? But everything else is just life, right? Like if it's my eye line or lower, it's just life. That's just normal life. But when I look up, that's like, it's a freak. And usually I'm used to being the freak, but I went to that bar and I was like, oh my God, everyone's the same height.
I love that. That's great. So what took you after that to Australia?
My brother again. So back to that best friends factor. When I knew I was retiring, I called my brother and said, "Hey man, I didn't really have a plan B. I pursued this athletics world as far as I could, and now I'm done. I don't know what to do." And he's like, "I'm starting this company in Australia, this photographic concession and resort islands. I'd love you to help me out." I'm like, "All right, see you in a bit." And that was literally that was the motivation. I'm like, "Yeah, bro, I'll come hang out." And he taught me how to use a camera and become a photographer. And we started writing shows and putting up shows in the resort islands, much like the Club Med kind of vibe. And my brother's extremely funny. So he would write these comedic skits, and we would perform them and then take photos of them to get audience members to come up and participate. And then they'd have these great holiday memories that we could sell back to them. And,
Smart.
Yeah.
Got to make a living.
That's my brother. Yeah. And he's the entrepreneur. But I fell in love with being on stage, and it was another performance element. Like it was like being on the court in volleyball in a way, with the adrenaline and the need to perform and the audience reaction, the immediate response. And I got hooked again. So we did that for a while, and that's what took me to Australia.
Wow. And he taught you he taught you photography.
He did. Yeah. He learned on cruise ships. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a money maker there.
Well, it's also, you're trapped on a boat. You can't go anywhere. So, but in a way, and my brother is very much he'll do his due diligence to the point of getting a PhD in something. So met a guy who's like, "Hey, I need a photographer. You can start out at this level." And my brother, next thing you know, he's running the ship, and then he's running the crew of the other three. He's like my dad. He's like my dad in that he'll just climb that ladder and do his thing until he's where he wants to be.
Wow. And doing the comedy with your brother, is that what prompted you to really, go full force back into acting?
Absolutely. The being on stage it's that euphoric state that I discovered it with sports and being on whenever the game was on, the rest of the world disappeared. I was so completely, and I remember an interview like 160 years ago where I called it the white zone. I know I don't look bad for 168, right?
No.
Hold on. Botox is no, I'm just kidding. I fell in love with this thing called the white zone, where everything around me disappeared and the world slowed down, and I just felt so absolutely connected to what was going on that it was a euphoric state of being. And I got that when I was on stage with my brother doing the comedy. And I got there because my brother wrote the comedy. So I didn't feel as vulnerable at that point to be able to perform it, because it was my sense of what I thought was funny and it didn't fly. I think my insecurity at that time, which has been raging throughout my life, would have taken over, and I wouldn't have been able to find that euphoric state. So I had the great kind of combination of my brother's brilliance, my desire, and longing for that euphoric state, and all those pieces came together, and I just was hooked. So I'm often was like, "I'll do the show if you want to shoot it today," every single time.
So there must be a lot of gratitude towards your brother.
I have incredible gratitude to my entire family. My dad and my mom and dad were both very, and I've got 2 kids, so I'm doing my best. And I even more kudos, and I appreciate the mom, dad, thank you, because they never pushed me to do anything, but they supported me to do anything and everything. And in that kind of beautiful, supported world, I ended up with this ability to believe in myself to keep going. And I did it a lot for externals because I struggle with some stuff, but at least the comfort to know that I had a support team there was incredible. And my mom and dad were amazing. And my sister, she's the younger one. She's incredibly funny. She's got a quirky sense of humor that keeps me on my toes, and she's brilliant, and she's an incredible mom. And my brother's a free-spirited, living on his own in Australia, still entrepreneur. And I owe all of them. I got lucky when it came to family units. We traveled a lot, so we had to stick together, but we did, and it was pretty awesome.
That's awesome. Well, you just mentioned, 2 kids, Elijah and Grayson. How did fatherhood change your life?
Redefine love, 100%. I mean, my wife is incredible, and I love her with every ounce of my being. But then when your baby boy or girl shows up in the world, everything changed that second that I met him. And again, with the second one, it just redefined love and a sense of purpose that's eternal now. I don't have to. I can have a secondary purpose, but my primary purpose is to be dad. And I might struggle with the secondary one now and again, and I flip flop and run around. But that's that primary one. It's nice to know that forever exists, and I'm going to do everything I can to fulfill that as best I can, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. How old are they?
Responsibilities. 13. Elijah's 13, and Grayson's 10.
Any inkling that one or both may follow in Dad's footsteps?
Possibly with the sports. My 10-year-old's 5'4" already.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a big fella. And then my 13-year-old's like 5'5" and a half, 5'6". But the 10-year-old, he loves baseball, and he's already at 10. There's a pitching coach from a development camp who's like, I'd like to work with that young man. So that's kind of cool. I'm not gonna I want, again, to go back to my parents. They let me drive the bus. And I really want my kids to drive the bus. I use that concept for a lot of different things, but in terms of their sports, their sporting careers, and whatever they desire, I want them to drive the bus. I will fill the tank left, right, and center, but I want them to drive the bus. So my older one loves hockey. He's giving it all he can. And my younger one's baseball, and they both play baseball and hockey. But neither of them have really asked me about acting. So if you're talking about acting, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I was, but but you're right. I mean, sports, photography, it could be comedy, it could be any of them. And I didn't
start acting until I was 30. So there's always time. It feels like.
Absolutely. And it wasn't until you started going on stage. I mean, I don't think really at 10 and 13. I mean, the 13-year-old will start to hit where there's theater in school, but not before 13. I don't think many schools. I mean, maybe today they do. I don't really know. But,
actually, sorry.
Yeah, I don't. I don't have kids, so I have no idea what they do in school anymore.
I don't either. I'm trying to help them with it. But my 13-year-old's in grade 8, and he just took drama for the first time, and he took it as an elective, which was kind of cool. And again, didn't push him anywhere. He took drama, and he won the President's Award or whatever for that drama class, which that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but he still hasn't gone, hey, Dad, can you teach me how to audition? And I want to get into it. But he did drama, and he won an award for it, so we'll see. There's still hope. No, I'm just
kidding. So did you grow up watching Disney movies?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I grew up, Fantasia was the first one where I don't remember when it started or ended. I was just there glued to it. And then, absolutely, I can't remember not trying to catch every single Disney movie that came out right when it came out.
And you loved the original Mighty Ducks.
100%. And the fact that I got to meet Emilio Estevez and work with him, Again, more of those unknown bucket list things that show up. And he's so cool. Like he is.
I worked on the original movie.
Did you really?
Yeah, I worked for Disney for 8 years in the marketing and PR department. So I did PR on like 200 movies.
Unbelievable. That's very cool. Are you a Disney fan still?
Yeah, I don't see as many things. You know, when you spend 8 years and you have to go to a movie every night of the week for almost those 8 years, you afterwards, you know, I let that go for a while. But I do. I mean, I think what they do, you know, and I was there during Little Mermaid and Lion King and Aladdin, you know, which was, you know, it was for me right out of college. So it was really quite a thing. But I remember the Mighty Ducks was huge back then in '92 when it first came out.
It was amazing. And I feel like they captured the essence of it in the series as well. I watched it with my boys. I got them to watch the original and they were like, and they wanted to watch it again, which is to me a sign of a great movie. So the fact that we watched it together and then later on they're like, hey, can we watch Mighty Ducks again? I'm like, absolutely. And then the series, there's an essence, I think, to every show. I think they captured the essence really well in the series. To take a movie, the essence of a movie, and translate it into a series, I thought they did a really great job of that.
And 30 years later.
And how does Emilio Estevez? I never asked him this. I got to figure out. That guy's fountain of youth. It's unbelievable.
It's crazy. So when that audition came up, you know, you grew up on the movie. Were you just so stoked to go out for it?
Yeah, I did. So when it came in and I saw that it was Mighty Ducks, I did have to, because if I put too much expectation on anything, I'm not going to be present for it, right? I'm looking at the expectation down the road, the result, rather than the presence of being in that moment. So I definitely had to get over that expectation and desire to be a part of something that I love so much. And I guess I did well enough to get out of my own way and just be present and enjoy it. So it worked out. But yeah, definitely when it came in, I was pretty, you know, that guy excited.
Yeah, I bet. Did you shoot the series during the pandemic?
We did. Yeah.
What was that like?
I mean, it was incredible because they had all the protocols and everything's in place to keep people safe. So, I mean, anywhere you work, you want to feel safe and you want to have a sense of comfort. And it's beyond my control what they do or don't do, and I have no real say in you know what I think they should or shouldn't have done. All I know is that at the end of the day, I felt safe and comfortable and ready to perform. And you know, we had to wear masks as best we could, as long as we could in between takes, and we got a lot of Q-tips to the brain.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's all cleaned out in there. Not that there's
the fun part. Part. Crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, whatever they had to do, right, to make people feel good, and they did, and we got to socialize. There was a lot of plexiglass around, and we ate mostly on our own, or else like I kind of joke like it was visiting inmates in a prison because there was, you know, plexiglass cubicles around each eating area. So you're like, hey, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, exactly. Afraid the inmates are going to get loose.
Exactly.
And you were also in Disney's Descendants playing Beast. What was that audition process like?
A bit more unnerving, actually, than the Mighty Ducks one, because Beast is a classic icon of the Disney characters. And, you know, you don't know whether you're meant to try and emulate, mimic, or imitate any kind of, or honor any kind of historic version of, or are you allowed to impart your own thoughts completely on? And Kenny Ortega was wonderful about taking all of that fear away. He's like, this is our Beast for our world. So please do what you feel is best, and we'll work that from the foundation to be what we need it to be for our story. So you're primarily a dad in this, and that's something I want you to focus on. So and the audition had a bit of comedy in it, which I love to try and find. Successfully or not, I still like to try and find it, and it seemed to work out. Kenny responded really well to it, and I think the biggest thing was just trying to feel like I had the freedom to try and do Beast as per what I thought this Descendants world required versus what historically the classic iconic character, was revered for.
And what was it like when you got the part? You just talking about the audition, but getting that part and working.
I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea the scope, scale, or impact that those 3 movies would have, or 4 cartoons. And I know I showed up to set. First off, showed up to the costume fitting, and the costumes were these vibrant, bright colored, beautiful, elegant, and elaborate outfits. It was like, I'm like, this is incredible. This alone is incredible. I can only imagine what we're going to get in. Then I stepped on set, and the sets were massive and, again, extremely bright, vibrant, colorful, and incredible sets. I started to realize that we were into something. I started meeting the rest of the cast members. These kids can sing, dance, act, top of the world. Like they are trifecta, and they're good kids. Which usually I'm like, which one of you is going to be the diva nightmare? None of them. They were all great. And they welcomed the old fart too, which is nice because I was one of the very few parent characters there. And they weren't like, yeah, old people over in the old people corner. They were really inclusively wonderful. I felt like one of the group. Not the dancing or singing, because I should never do either of those. But it's fun. Actually, the dancing, my athletic background, I think the dancing, I'll welcome the dancing. But if they ever wanted that movie to sell, I'm glad they did what they did, which is never have me sing, because that's not a good thing. That's not going to work out for anybody. But then to watch,
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a performer, but I know I can't sing. So nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, it's a bit about know your strengths and your weaknesses.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I knew my weakness, or one of them. But I remember being on set as well, because often I get to be sort of almost a background performer watching these kids do these big dance numbers. And I swear, I'm like, if this camera might have caught me just slack-jawed,
I bet.
Watching these kids do their thing. They're doing flips and stuff and singing at the same time and emoting, and it was incredible. And all helmed by Kenny Ortega, who had this beautiful energy. And I'm talking like this ship, not just like sometimes physically and metaphorically, the ship was massive. There are hundreds of dancers, hundreds of crew, 22 different things that have to happen exactly when they need to happen. And Kenny had a smile on his face and was just keeping us all happy, live, vibrant. It was amazing.
Disney or whoever must have known, like, for and I wonder, did he do Newsies? I can't remember.
I don't know. I know High School Musical obviously was the first.
Yeah, I have to think I can't remember, because I worked on Newsies, but I can't remember. But I mean, you need somebody with it even temper, because it could be quite scary for kids if there wasn't a director who knew how to handle that amount of kids, for sure.
So there's kid energy, and then there's the us not so kid energy. There's choreography beyond crazy choreography. There's performance elements like the acting. So he's coordinating choreography, every age group you can possibly imagine, singing and acting, and all of that has to come together to tell the story. And obviously, with the success of those 3 movies and the cartoons, he nailed it. I'm honored to be a part of that. Like, I love that my kids can go, my dad's the beast, and not that they do, but
you don't know that. You don't know that. They might.
Well, the first time, can I share, Alan? The first time that so I take them to school after the first Descendants movies come out. And it's wildly popular and things are going really well. And I'm proud of it. I'm honored to be in this movie and I'm proud of it. And my kids watching it are like, yeah, that's you, Dad. Cool. And I was like, but it's that, okay. Like they didn't really jump out of their chairs at all. I was kind of hoping. But we get to school. And when I dropped off at school, I always give them a hug at the gate and then say goodbye, love you. And then off they go. Well, get to the gate and I start giving them a hug, and then 20 kids run up. And they're like, excuse me, sir, are you the beast from Descendants? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. actually, I am. And they're like, hey, and they have, and I swear to God, I wanted to look over at my kids like, I get to be the cool dad for a minute. I look over and my kids are looking at me like this, like, it's just dad. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Not who cares.
Yeah, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, like it was way less of a thing for them and all these kids, and then they run away, and I'm like, I felt like $1 million, and they're like, yeah, cool, dad. Okay, see you after school. I'm like, guys, can't that be cool for a minute? Like, just give me a minute. Give me 1 minute to be your cool dad.
And for somebody who grew up watching Disney to be, carrying the legacy of the Beast now in these movies and, that will live on is pretty cool.
It's incredible. Yeah. And if you had asked me that sort of maybe even after the first movie, I would have been very nervous to even hear those words. But now, because we have established the Descendants world, and I feel comfortable with how incredibly well received it is, I'm honored to be carrying that mantle or whatever for a while, at least for this version of the Beast, for this incarnation of the Beast. I think it's an incredible privilege. So hopefully it's the same for those watching. But yeah, I mean, I'm honored. I'm honored to hold it for a while.
You must hear from kids who watch these movies, especially with social media.
It is pretty cool. It is just like that experience at my kids' school. I get some really sweet DMs and messages from kids saying, hey, you're a cool beast. I wish you were like my dad, or, that kind of stuff. And it's hard to have. I'm like, your dad's probably pretty awesome. I had a whole team putting my stuff together. But yeah, it's really cool. It's a very interesting, new, and neat experience for a guy this far in my career.
That's awesome. And what was your experience like on the Mulligans? Some fans were commenting earlier.
Mulligans was the first chance I had to take a lead character through an entire movie. So I assume daunting. Unbelievably daunting. But welcome in that it was an indie, and Charlie David, who wrote it and cast me to play Nathan, he was as excited as you'd want someone to be for you to play that role as you could hope for, because that excitement for you to be there gives you that. Because I was nervous, and again, I'll talk about the insecurity was raging. I'm like, I don't even know if I can do this, but the athlete mentality is, well, there's only one way to find out, and I'm willing to fall on my face to learn, pick up, and then do it right, and hopefully we have that time on that shoot. So the learning curve was incredible. The support, because it was an indie, we didn't have the 800 people type crew. We had a much smaller crew, so there was a family element to it. We felt like we were all working together for something, and I felt that on huge crews too. But this one very specifically, and I think almost as a necessity, was that environment was created. And I thought it was a great story to tell. I thought that there wasn't enough of that quality of project that we did telling that type of story. It's gotten much better, but I think at the time we were, more at the forefront of telling a great love story with all the elements that it brought together versus what was on offer at the time. Not to negate any of the other projects that might have been around that time, but I just was really grateful for ours to be the value of production that it became.
Thinking about when you signed on to take that part and when the project was over, can you sort of articulate what you think you learned on that?
Wow. Well, signing on, again, I knew I was biting off more than I'd ever tried to bite off before. I knew that I was going to be up for an incredible challenge. And the story for me, it's about a character who marries his high school sweetheart before he's fully formed his own sense of self and his own sense of sexuality. And then they have a daughter. And then his entire life, there's a nagging that he's not being his true self, that he's not living his authentic self. And an opportunity comes up where he finds his truth and he finds his authenticity of self and sexuality and being. But unfortunately, in doing so, blows up the construct of the family that he had created. And now he has to find the balance and put the pieces together to make everybody hopefully find their truth and happiness so they can live as fully as possible. That resonated with me as a story as much as any story I've ever done. I love that kind of a journey. So I wanted to take on the challenge no matter what. Mm. What I learned was I have the capacity to carry a lead. That's what I learned at the end of it. When I was finished, I felt very good about understanding a character arc, understanding the character's arc within the story arc. I understood. And again, this is not things that I fully comprehended. And Chip, who is our director, was exquisite at helping me. Before and after each scene, we'd talk about the arc and where we were in the story, because you never shoot it in a linear way. Not never, but very, very rarely shoot it in a linear way. So we wanted to talk about where we were emotionally, where we were mentally, and what the battle was. What was the main conflict that was raging inside that was creating the need for this scene to happen. And it gave me a better sense of my own process without me knowing about how to approach a scene and break down character and break down scripts. And so it was just an incredible learning here. So I went from ambitious, passionate, younger actor, meaning in my career, to a much more aware of what I needed to do to be the actor I wanted to become or have become. And again, with the right people at the right time, they're going to help you get through what you don't know to succeed. But the beautiful part is that I got to know that I didn't know that and had the help, and I would learn those things. I could do them at that point because if somebody shows you how to tie a tie, you can tie your tie. Mm-hmm. But if you want to be really good at tying your tie, you go home and you keep practicing tying your tie. So I tied my tie a bunch with all the things I took from that show. And so afterwards, I felt like it gave me oh, I have a dog, by the way.
He's chiming in. He wants his 15 minutes.
Yeah, if you disagree, keep it yourself, dog. So I just was grateful for the opportunity to recognize the things that I don't know and what I do need to know to continue on the journey that I had started. And it just was a leg up. I felt like it was a giant, instead of incremental little steps in my career, I think it gave me a big leap.
That's awesome. Grant says it's his favorite film. Vicky,
thanks, Grant.
George says you did an amazing job in that movie and we went along on the journey. And Vicky says it's available on Amazon Prime in the UK. It might be here too. It might be here too, but she's in the UK. I think she was also hoping that Corrective Measures is released in the UK as well.
Yeah, me too. Fox Tubi. I don't know where you can get Fox Tubi. I know, North America. I don't know. Hi, Vicky. I hope so. I want that. So Vic.
Yeah, go ahead.
If it's the same Vicky that I know, she's an incredibly wonderful, supportive person who I've met through conventions and whatnot. She's incredible. I hope it's out there, Vicky. And hi.
That's awesome. You've done like incredible series, but supernatural, sci-fi. Are you a superhero fan yourself?
100%. If you were going to ask me what superhero I'd want to be, it's Star-Lord. I have no hesitation telling you. I love all the superhero movies, Marvel, DC, the whole bit. Again, these are the movies where you get to just go on the ride. You don't have to be at the forefront edge of your seat figuring out who that. I just enjoy the very well structured ride that you get to go on. So I absolutely love the superhero world.
Well, but you're in Battlestar Galactica, Smallville. I would love Battlestar Galactica. Loved Smallville. Great shows. Those must have been fun for somebody who loves that type of genre.
100%. And I got Battlestar Galactica. I got to make out with the president. Not a bad deal.
Get out, Kate. Kate, was it who? Is it Kate? Who was the president? Kate, not Kate Mulgrew. I know who. I know who it is. Oh my God. Damn it. I see her right in front of my eyes.
Can you?
I'm
You
gonna look
got-
it up. I'm looking it up because I know. Who's the president on Battlestar Galactica? Come on.
Mary
Oh, that yes.
Mick.
Mary McDonnell.
Yes.
Mary McDonnell. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I see. Oh, that's pretty awesome. She
Oh
was
my God.
incredible.
Yeah.
She was incredible in that.
Talk about gravitas, right? She's incredible.
And what a series that was. Were you watching the series when you got the part?
Yeah, I have a couple really great friends that were on the show, like Tom O'Pennicott was on there, Aaron Douglas, Grace Park. These are all people from Vancouver that I know well. So, support the community. We have an incredible community here. I was watching it because they're friends, and then also because the show was, and then I was hook, line, and sinker. It took all of like 10 minutes. I'm like, the way it was filmed was spectacular. I thought the tone that they set was fantastic. And and then I remember, can I share a little quick thing from this? At the end of that, when I got up from in the finale, I was meant to get up from the bed, and they debated whether to have my butt hanging out or not. So so I did one take where I my butt was hanging out, and then I pulled my boxers up, and away we go. And they did that as a potential, like, is this too much for the show or not, whether it was going to be censored or not. But it was pretty interesting to have my butt hanging out for the crew. Apologies for all of you who were there.
I forget, what did that air on? Was it Sci-Fi?
Oof.
Sci-Fi Network? I can't remember. My husband and I were in China. He was in business school and had a week over there in Shanghai, and we had missed a series or something, but we actually bought like a bootleg, how they do in China. and yes, and we literally were watching them in our hotel room. We were
fantastic.
We were missing the show, so we were so excited to be across the globe and watching Battlestar Galactica.
That's commitment.
Yeah, we like our series. What was it like to work with Zack Snyder on Watchmen?
So the cool part for that was that I was a part of the casting process. I was the reader for the casting director, and Zach was in the room, so I got to meet Zach as a helping him cast the movie. So a couple cool things for that. I get to see all of my friends come in and be unbelievable, and try and help and support them to be as absolutely best they could for Zach. But then I got to meet Zach in the in between. So when we would, like, between breaks, he was like, let's play some Dixie Cup soccer. So we'd crush up one of the Dixie Cups and kick it around, and then like try and challenge, like, okay, kick it in the garbage can from here and all that stuff. And he's just a really cool guy. Like, he is absolutely cool enough that I had I had auditioned for a different role, and then I was the reader. And when I left on the last day of doing the reading for the project, I was driving away, and the casting director called me and said, "Hey, Zach wanted me to ask you something." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And I had, no thoughts about, like, maybe it's like, "Oh, can you come back?" And, like, I had no idea where I was going. He's like, he was wondering if you would be okay being Dollar Bill in the show. It's not a huge role, and I was like, you had me at Zach asked. I don't care what it is. So it came out of the fact that I was there, and I physically fit the bill. Like, there was a physicality, obviously, that was required, but he had seen me perform as a reader, not like the full on the other side of the camera, but enough. And I think there was enough rapport there that he's like, that's that guy's a decent guy. And he threw me the bone. He just basically threw me the bone of being Dollar Bill, which.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
If any actor ever watches this interview, the lesson: if someone asks you to be the reader, be the reader. You never know.
Alan, are you kidding me? Being a reader is the inner sanctum. If you want to know what it's like to take for actors to come in for the energy that's well received or not well received, what the difference between making strong choices is or isn't, you get to see it firsthand. And you also, because you're not on camera and you're not as responsible for your side, you can completely give to the other actor. Then you learn listening even more so, because you want to be there for every element. Like, if they're stumbling, you want to help by picking up the next line a little bit for them. And it's a really incredible learning tool for not only your process, but for the whole overall process of casting, and how to be a better actor, to be a better listener, to be a better teammate in terms of being in a scene with somebody. I know everybody who, like all the actors out there, they've worked with somebody who was either having a bad day or just didn't, or just over it. And when they're doing their off-camera lines, they either weren't there because they let, Scripty do it, or they were phoning it in. They're on their phone. They're like, yeah, what's my line? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Right? And that's really hard because you're trying to emote and create this whole scene from your side. And it's not, it teaches you that professional etiquette to be there 100,000% for them, because you're going to hope for the same from them. And it just it improves the product. It improves the value of everything that's going on.
How did that come about for you? Had you done it before?
I had spoken to some actors who had been readers, and they said exactly what I just spewed out, that it's such a gift to be in there, to learn. And you get to hear some of the talk between directors and producers and casting to find out what matters. It just means it's less of a guessing game. And,
it sounds like such a smart inside scoop on really, it's like the best advice you could ever witness with your own eyes and ears.
There's an absolutely, but there's a respect element. You're the fly on the wall. Like you got to know your place. And again, I don't mean to sound like you're lesser than, but you're there to do your job. Not,
right.
You're not a part of the casting in terms of decision making or anything. But it's really cool to hear the conversations that go on. And I'll tell you, it really truly is. It's not about getting it perfect or getting it right in there. It's about making strong choices and being as present as you can. Give the essence of the character through the filter of you with strong choices as best you can. Who gives a crap if you muffle a line? It doesn't matter if you have to start again because you forgot halfway through. If you get a great takeout, even with a few line hiccups or missing words or whatever, the essence of the character is there. Your ability to perform, make strong choices is present, and they're going to gauge that. So if you physically look the part, and again, there's a million things, there's a billion reasons why you might not get a role. Too much nose hair, we don't like your eyebrows, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Right.
Doesn't matter.
You sneeze the wrong way.
Yeah. You look like my ex-girlfriend, boyfriend. Like it literally, there's a billion reasons that might come up. There's only one reason why you will, and that's for you to do your homework, be the best present actor that you can. And if those other pieces line up, there you go. So just keep buying your tickets back into that room, and then your time will come.
I mean, I love that story. Really, it's a great story. Your dream job is to join the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I'm not going to say no. Dream job. Wow, that would absolutely be a dream. Absolutely. But as I'm getting to this stage in my career, I would also love a series. Funny enough, I have very happily almost what I call blue collared my way. Like it's always been a guest star here, lead in a movie there, a Hallmark movie here, a guest star there, a couple episodes arc here. I would love to get, the 1 to 10 on a series with a character that has a fun arc that builds, I like that notion. The character that you get to build over the course of time.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if they said, "Hey, we'd like you to be such and such Marvel superhero," the answer was yes 4 seconds before you finish speaking. But
exactly. Is there a show you're watching now that you're like, damn, that's a character I would love to play?
Oof. These are great questions. So my wife and I are watching The Last Kingdom. With Uhtred, son of Uhtred. And
Uhtred, son of...
that guy is...
I love that show.
I love that guy. He is sexy, sensitive, violent, gentle. Like, it's... Yeah, so I would love to be Uhtred, son of Uhtred in some way, shape, or form.
Are you on season 5? The current season?
We're all done. Yeah.
We're all done. They did it well, didn't they?
They did. They did it so well that we wanted to watch the other one, the Vikings.
So there's Vikings on Amazon, and there is a new one called Vikings Valhalla on.
Yes.
Yes, we started that actually. I don't remember if we finished that season, but Vikings on Amazon is pretty great as well.
That's with I worked with him in Warcraft.
Alexander Ludwig.
Yes, and I can't remember his name. He's funny. He's crazy.
Yeah, for anybody watching, The Last Kingdom is phenomenal. I wasn't sure that I would, but I loved every bit of that series.
Yeah, it's pretty subject. Like everybody, some will love it, some won't. But yes, you and I share a love of that movie or show series. My wife too. Like it's a very well told story and extremely well done. I enjoyed every bit of it. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the current one.
Yeah, well cast.
Very well cast. Yeah.
Really. Yeah. But I loved Vikings as well. We fell in love with Vikings, and that's like a ridiculous 8 or so seasons on Prime. It's great. But Uhtred's a character you would love.
Yeah, well, you said Kurt because there's a whole bunch. Like if you go back in the day, if they ever redo the Rockford Files, I get a lot of it's really cool that I got a lot of probably I'd say 65 plus ladies come up to me going, "Oh my God, you look like a young James Garner," and I'm like, "That's the best compliment ever." And I love the Rockford Files. That's why I love that compliment so much. I watched the Rockford Files with my dad. So if they ever redo that, that would be pretty awesome.
You need to get it moving.
If there's anyone out there watching,
exactly. You got some money. The minute you said that, I was like, "Oh, you totally do look like him."
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't. It's pretty.
I can see. So you have a broad, resume of roles. Is there one that stands out to you as your favorite?
There's a few favorites, but for different reasons. If you don't mind, can I answer it as a multiple? Yeah. Multiple choice? All of them. Yeah, exactly. So the original one that I fell in love with, that I had hoped would get more of an opportunity to be told, was a web series that was looking to become a TV series called Divine the Series. And Ivan Hayden, who put that together with a few other amazing guys, had this unbelievable world created, this fantastic story about an immortal back from the Spanish Inquisition, became immortal, and then now in the current time was trying to find absolution and his penance to be able to give up his immortality to finally be able to live a life and move on.
Wow. And
there's 3 of us that got cursed with immortality, and we each took different approaches to how to get our mortality back. I'm dumbing it down in a way that I'm hopefully not upsetting Ivan, but the story was sorry, Ivan, but the story it's exquisite. At lunches, I would just get him to please tell me more about the pre-story and the episodes that you want to do following from this. And we never got the chance, but it was we did do the web series, and it was phenomenal. I loved every second of it, and it was action. I got to kill demons, and
that's always fun.
That's always a good thing, right? So that was one of them. And then recently I did a thriller called Devil in the Dark. And the reason why that one stands out is I got to work with one of my best friends, Carrie Dixon, who wrote that movie, and work with Robin Dunn, who is an incredible actor. And we just had this, it was meant to be a brothers movie, and I felt like we had a brothers experience shooting it. It was a thriller that it was very collaborative. We shot in the interior of BC. There were ticks. We had to get tick checks done every night, like strip down to your underwear and do a, wardrobe or hair and makeup or whoever would have to do a tick check and comb your hair out and make sure you had no ticks on you, because we were in tick country. And which was a unique experience, I got to be honest.
Yeah, I bet.
We had to do our own other bits, obviously, but the fact that we had to do tick checks was, and a crew member got a tick in his belly button. And they either get this liquid they pour on it so that it backs out, or you use flame and you heat it up so that it backs out. Because anyway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, crazy, right? That's I want to say suffering for the art.
Totally suffering for the art.
Yeah.
Is that out?
Devil in the Dark, yeah, absolutely. It was on iTunes for a long time. It might still be. Yeah.
Very cool. Who are some of your acting role models?
Ooh, that's a great. You're stumbling me up with all these great questions because it changes all the time. Like every time I get asked, I'm in a new place, so I don't want to just give you an old answer. I want to try and give you a legitimate current answer. And the first one that came to mind was Johnny Depp, and it still rings true. But that's an old answer and why I would say Johnny Depp is because he inhabits a character so completely that I don't think there's any Johnny Depp left. And that ability to transform, that's what I think makes his performances so intoxicating, is that he is 1,000% whomever Edward Scissorhands, Pirates of the Caribbean, Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
It is so complete down to every little detail. And I remember he asked for gold teeth and he needed all these, he inhabits them. So I remember that being a huge thing. Christian Bale, for the commitment to go from The Machinist to Batman to American Psycho. He gives everything to the art, to the performance, and to the storytelling, to the point where he's almost sacrificing his body. I love that level of commitment, and I haven't been asked, nor do I know. I think I would rise to that challenge because I would apply that athlete's mentality. But to know that he's done it and done it to that level. Joaquin Phoenix, Jared Leto.
I was thinking of, as you were describing the other Bale and Depp, I was thinking you might say Leto as well, after that.
Yeah, transformation, full inhabitants of character. And but then I think Chris Pratt does a phenomenal job of bringing levity, joy, and laughter to a character. And emotion, he'll have you crying and then laughing. And then on top of that, the guy who does that more than anyone else is Ricky Gervais. Mm-hmm. If you've watched Afterlife, which is one of my favorite shows,
he did a great job. He did a great job with that show.
I would laugh to tears and then just straight up crying. And I love that. I love going on that roller coaster, to be moved like that. I don't know that. So
it's a great series. It really makes you think, life.
Yep, I think he's a genius. I think Ricky Gervais is a straight up comedic genius and genius. I'm grateful for all the stuff he's given us to watch.
Yeah, he is a funny man. What's next for you?
Well, I'm writing a script with a friend of mine out of Florida, and we are extremely excited about that. I can't wait for
genre.
Rom-com.
Oh, fun.
He's a comedian. My friend in Florida is a comedian, stand-up comedian, Dave, and a writer. And we're really excited about it. And we've got some friends that we can't wait to get it to. We're, first draft's done, but you're not handing that one in. So, we'll, few spell checks to go.
Yeah. Have you written before?
Yeah, I've been so Kerry Dixon, who wrote Devil in the Dark, has been very kind to allow me to be a part and a writing partner to him. And we've written a few scripts that they're in the shoot state. In the canon. Yeah, exactly. And then I've written my own. I wrote a series with a friend a long time ago, which is also I still have hope for it. I call it Californication in a toque. That's the log line. But yeah, writing is a cool part because I want to get to writing and producing in order to have more say in the creative content that I'm a part of.
That's awesome.
I will continue to audition and be grateful for any role that I book or get offered 1,000%, because every day on set's an amazing day. It's a great day, and I look forward to and cherish all of them. But as a new angle, I want to try and stick my get a thumb in the pie of creative content control to some extent.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure to meet you, Dan.
Thank you.
Success.
an honor to be here, and thank you for the pleasure of chatting with you.
Thanks so much. And everybody, check out Corrective Measures opening April 29th on Fox's Tubi. You have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Alan.
You're so welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. Thank you, Dan Payne, for stopping by. I said it before, Corrective Measures on Fox's Tubi on April 29th. Join me next Wednesday, April 20th, for an author's afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern with authors Blair Fell, Veronica Moya, and Greg Triggs. And I will have a second show that evening, Conversations with Alan, featuring director Tyler Gilden, who joins me to talk about his documentary, The Starfish. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not done so before. Turn on the notifications for reminders of all upcoming shows. Thank you for watching. If you haven't, please check out my new website, thelocherroom.com. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next week, everybody. Bye.